HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Tell a friend. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles.
Razor.
In the booth, in the building. One more again. Back like we never left, Razor.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how we do. We got to do it for the people, man. I'm so excited, Razor.
Yeah.
Per usual, man. This is just a great time in the city. Man, so much going on. Shouts out to all the folks doing the good back to school stuff, all the drives. And make sure y'all go out right now as we speak live on air over at the Boys and Girls Club. Shouts out to 100 Cuts and all the partners that helped put that together. There's everything for the kids: music, games, food, haircuts, braiding, and it's all free. It's all to celebrate our youngins. Let them know that we here for them. We got they back.
Yeah.
And man, you know, we got that going on, Razor. I mean, it's so much, but we are also approaching yet another Soul of Seville.
How many years is it now?
What we on? We on 4?
4, 5?
It's the 4th. I think it's the 4th.
Yeah,
and, you know, I know Jaquan or Kalila gonna smack me, but
yeah.
I think it's 4. I hope I got it right.
Yeah.
But you know, but as we always said, man, like why not us? Why not now?
That's
why
right.
not? Right.
That's
so
right.
this is for us. When
I like
say
your
us,
energy today, Sir Charles.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
like that. It must be because the family in the booth.
Hey, bro. When the folks can see her online right
they
now,
can see it.
but the folks in radio land, like once y'all know who we got in the booth, and you're gonna know, well, my energy got to be up, because that's the aura she brings. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why we talking about the Soul of Seville. You know, brought to you by 101 Jams and Chic and Classy Imaging, Beyond Fitness, X Park next weekend, starting on Friday the 16th, going through the 17th. It's so much going on, and again, it's for us, by us.
Boo boo.
Don't forget that. That's the most important part. And our guest, without further ado, right now, it's been a while since she's
bring them out.
It's been a while since she graced the IMHO airwaves, but you know, but we've been keeping tabs. We've been making sure she's been about the business, and none other than Lady Tage. Tage, happy Sunday.
Thank you. It feels so great to be here. I actually feel so at home here. You know what I mean?
You should.
Feel good.
You family.
When you come back home.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
That's right.
So, Razor, Tage was one of our first guests.
Yes.
When we were in our infancy stage, helping to start 101 Jams and figuring out what this IMHO thing was gonna, look like.
Yeah.
She was one of the early guests. So, Tage, we're a lot more polished now, so don't hold that against us. You know.
I love it. I see.
You see the growth.
Yes, it did. So, Lady Tage, for those that don't know, you took a little hiatus from the music thing, like you've grown in so many areas since we last spoke, but you are back with another offering to the music world called The Awakening, correct?
Yes.
Lady Tage. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get into the background.
Okay.
But so folks know Lady Tage, The Awakening, go ahead and plug that thing. Let them know if it's available, where it's available. Shout out the credits. So who helped put it together?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So The Awakening is my latest EP that actually just dropped last Wednesday. So I'm just so glad that the time is here to just, put a project together and, get back into the business in the music world. I have been working on this project for some time. And I want to go ahead and shout out one of the main producers on there, which is Kelis Kasike, my homie from Atlanta. I met him when I was in Atlanta. But yeah, no, it just feels so good. So you can go check out the project. It's anywhere that you listen to music, wherever you're streaming, you can go ahead and peep the project. But it's really just kind of my introduction back into putting music out, you know what I mean? And getting back into the space. So this is really just like waking the streets up, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, all right, this is the awakening. It's time to pay attention. And, we back out here and we back at it like we never left.
Now, what kept you going all that time? Because like Charles said, like you were one of the first artists to come on here and talk with us. And what I remember back then was your undeniable belief in your talent. You know what I'm saying? Like you were your own advocate. Some time has passed and you took a hiatus and then you came back to it. So what about you made you keep pushing forward?
Well, the interesting thing is that a few things. One, when the pandemic hit, that's when I had kind of like, went inside a little bit, but I was still creating music. So I never ever stopped making music. I just kind of stopped doing shows and putting music out as heavily as I was before.
Okay.
But I used that time to really just like sharpen my skills and really just like lock in on the craft. And also do some healing.
Stop right there. What does that look like? I never heard another artist say, I took time to sharpen my skills.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was making so many songs. Like I record myself. And so I made hundreds of songs. So just creating and not being afraid to like experiment with things. And also just get better, right? So it's, listening to different music, really focusing on myself, even going back and listening to the music that I was creating, picking it apart and really dissecting it and being like, okay, like this can be better. This can be better. And so those are the things that I did. And honestly, like, as far as like the belief in the talent and what I was doing, that's always, that's never left. It's just something like spiritually that feels like it's a part of me. Like when I do music, I almost feel like I'm vibrating on a different frequency. Like I feel like I have like a tingle in my body when I'm in the booth, and it's hard to explain, but it's just like such a part of me. So it's something that like never leaves. But now, I wanted to, with jumping back out into this space, it's like, okay, I want to do this the right way. And there's no real right or wrong way, but for me, I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to have my business together. I want to have my visuals together. I want to have everything together, and I want to package it well for the people. And then it's my job to ensure that everybody knows that I have put this project out. It's my job to ensure that the streets know. It's my job to ensure that the community knows that here's something that I've created, for us. And now it's no longer mine. It's for everybody.
I like that. Yeah.
So on that,
what's up.
Yes, what's up, Lady Tage, ladies and gentlemen, with her new project, The Awakening, and she will be performing at this year's Soul of Seville. Like top billing too. You got the Friday night spot, you got the Saturday spot. Like okay, Tage. But Tage, to your point, that you just said about now the art, right? This creation belongs to the people. Like once you put it out there, what's your take on the industry right now? Has your perspective changed on what it means to get signed or to get a deal, right? Because I'm always very weary of that. And like people that I mentor, people who come to ask, me like for advice when like when it comes to the business side of things, like I always tell them, like, be careful what you wish for. Because there's so many ways that you can keep ownership of yourself and your art without compromising, right? Yourself. Most importantly, without compromising your integrity. Right. And like, so I say, be careful, because when you say, I got to get signed, got to get a deal, you don't know sometimes what you got to sacrifice to get that. So I'm curious, like,
Diddy.
hey, it is what it is. Hey, so when you say that now belongs to the people, and you look at the way the industry is nowadays, and you see how like artists barely making a cent to the dollar, on streaming platforms and stuff. Like, so do you feel that like that your art literally should belong to like the free domain, like to the people because it's art, or like do you feel like that the artists, like where do you draw that line when it comes to profiting and ownership?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. One of the things is that one of the things that has changed for me from with doing music now and when I was doing music before was when I was doing it before, I was in like that starving artist mode. So when I was like doing shows and doing things like that, like making the money from the shows like affected my livelihood, right? And that can affect sometimes of how you put the art out and what you're doing. Now we're in a space where it's a little bit different. I can drop a project. People can, when you're on like social media platforms and things of that nature, like you're not so kind of tied down by a label where they're in full control, and you have more control if you choose to take the independent route. Now it is a lot harder, right? And but I think it's completely worth it. The difference between where I was then and where I am now is like, even in life, I have like elevated, and I have like such a business mindset. Like I've, like I'm a realtor, you know what I'm saying? I'm a director at the place that I work. Business is something I really like love and care about. And so from being in those spaces and like negotiating deals and contracts, you really have an understanding of like, okay, how can I make this profitable for myself? How do I create generational wealth? And so I think the difference is like, okay, do I want to bet on myself and fully go in and put, the earnings that I have to support this? Before I didn't really have as much financial stability. Now I'm in a space where I have more financial stability, and I can actually invest that into my art. And so the reason why I actually even got into real estate was when I was in Atlanta, I was in a mentorship program, and everybody was like, trying to find an investor, trying to find somebody to invest in their art. And I said, oh, I want to be my own investor.
Okay.
So how can I make the most money with the, you know, and not have to put a crazy amount of time and have more freedom and be able to like financially support the art. So that's actually why I got into real estate to begin with. Was so I could be my own investor and hold, you know.
Let me ask you this.
That's awesome.
A lot of times when a lot of what I've learned about music, the back door behind music is what I learned when Charles talks about things, right? Would you say that the people, the listener, can only really ingest what the main market wants to put out?
I think that the way that I think that's how it used to be. I think that's
I know
changing.
during my time, like if you had to rap about killing somebody, disrespecting our sisters. You had, you know, that's what sold. So when you had Charles, what was that group out of Tennessee?
Like Arrested Development?
Arrested Development. When you had socially conscious people wanting to talk about cookouts and having a good time, right? That wasn't sold as much. Our trauma was what was pushed on us for a cheaper price, right? So
and it's still the same way. Like it may just be now about popping Molly and all that kind of stuff. Like, but it's still like, so the content.
Well,
may
I'm talking
changed,
more so
but
for the
still,
female rapper, for the female artist. Like what do you feel like? Are you able to just say, this is who I am, this is what I want to rap about, this is what I want to talk about, this is what I want to be socially conscious about, and it can be pushed into the platforms where people can enjoy your music? Or do you have to be a Megan? Do you have to be a Kim? Do you have to be in order to get the rotations?
Well, it depends on what your end goal is, right?
Okay.
And I think like that's the thing. I think that that's when I feel like I probably would be a lot further in my music career if I had like bought into some of those things. But like that's something that I just like would choose not to, you know, go down that route, right?
Okay.
But I think that I do think that there's a new wave of female artists and some of that is definitely being pushed. I think the difference between before though and like where we are now is that you can do a little bit more direct to consumer. And so it's like, yes, there's a lot of artists that are actually doing really well, but you know, a lot of people may not know about it, right? And so it just depends on if you want to be in the mainstream space or not, right? And what are the things you want to give up? So it's like, if I want to go in and, you know, I have this large of a fan base and I want to go do shows and I actually am independent, I actually can probably make more money than if I signed a deal with a label and like went that route. You know what I'm saying? And they're taking such a large chunk with the machine behind them. So, I mean, it really just depends on your perspective, but I do think that things are changing and it's all about what your end goal is and where you want to be.
And it's also important. That's a good answer. And it's also important for folks to know like how you can diversify, right? Like your talents and your skills. It's like we were talking, you know, before we went live, like I think we said it on air too, but the artist is like cut is sometimes the smallest out of the whole pile.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you have skills writing, you got skills producing, you got skills engineering, whatever the case is, like learn how to diversify that thing. And like you had said something else too. So I think it's a pro and a con. Like, so let me know like what your opinion is. But I think it's a pro and a con to like where we are currently with the way that music is distributed. Because I love the independence. Like I love the free reign. I love the fact that you can be direct to consumer, as you said. But to a certain extent, having a gatekeeper, you know, on the flip side, is a good thing, and it was a good thing. Now, as long as you got hip hop minded A&Rs,
that part
that are those gatekeepers for the record company. You follow what I'm saying? Because you can get a lot of junk too. You know what I mean? Like
we've experienced that. That's very real.
Yeah. So I'm curious on your take on if that's a fair give and take of like we'll take the junk and we'll take the person who may have less talent but does something catchy on TikTok. And they make it. Like, is that a fair trade, or do you feel like having that sort of gatekeeper of a record label was more beneficial?
Well, I think it also depends on what your fan base is, right? Because I think sometimes like people sleep on how smart people actually are, right? And so some folks like, something might go crazy on TikTok and you might go viral, but are they selling out shows? You know what I'm saying? Like, do they really have like fans from that one thing? Like, how do you take that and then you actually use that to elevate where you are career wise? You know what I'm saying? So like, those are the things to think about. But I think that also too, again, you have to find your people as an artist, right? So it's like, this is the music I want to make. This is what feels true to me. And so what with my job is, along with like making sure people know about the music that I'm putting out, my job is to find the people that my music like locks in with, right? And so once you find enough of those people, then you're cooking and then you're in the right space, and and that continues to grow. So I think, I mean, it is pros and cons with it, but at the end of the day, like, again, there's a lot of, artists that aren't really the greatest that put a lot of music out, but it's also like on what consumers choose to listen to.
So wait a minute, both of y'all are into the music. Let me ask y'all a direct question. I need both of y'all to answer this. So the way I heard it is that it's okay to sell out as long as it's a tool for something else. Like you said, what is your end goal? So if my end goal is to create generational wealth, buy houses and send my kids off to become doctors, I'm going to be like, not Fabulous. What's dude? He always rap like he getting high, but they say he don't do nothing. Future. Right? So it's supposedly Future. So if you listen to this, get out my face because I don't think you can fight. But if that's my end goal, is to come out here and act like this. Tupac said it too. My life didn't become my reality until I sung about it, and then everybody made that my reality. So if that's my choice, is it okay to sell out at that point and become what the big machine, as y'all called it, wants me to be?
I think it's a slippery slope. I'm sorry. You mind
but no. Is it okay? Yes or no?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. To me, it's a very slippery slope, because I feel like that I personally, my music taste, feel like that it's not okay because of the current dynamic. Now, I'm cool when people say, well, it's just entertainment. It's entertainment. Right. But my issue, though, there is that we need to balance it. And I do feel like that's one of the good things about the landscape now on, like, if you really want something, you can go get it. So my point, though, is that I feel like that if we were able to give the conscious rap or like to give the, like the lyricism, like the same fair ground that we give, I guess you could say, like the negative stuff, right? Or like the demeaning stuff. Then I would be more okay with us saying, well, that's just entertainment. We get that because we're balancing it like with something that's good, so that we can separate the two. The issue now is that I feel like all they push is a certain narrative, like certain lyrical content.
I agree.
And so that makes people think that this is all hip hop is. And that makes little kids think this is what I got to be. This is who I should look up to. So we just got to balance it, in my opinion.
What about you, Tash?
Well, I think also too, like, people aren't really making so much money in music. So it's like you use music as like, the place, like your starting point. And then you use that to be like, okay, now I'm gonna do a Popeyes deal, or now I'm gonna get these endorsements, and now I'm gonna get like all this money outside of that. Do I think it's okay to sell out? I think it's also where, like, where's your moral compass, right? Like, where do you fall on that? And like, what feels right and what doesn't feel right? Some people might feel okay making that sacrifice. But some, folks might hold a little stronger to that and be like, nah, I'm not rocking with that. So I think, I do think it is a very slippery slope. I completely agree. But I think it just all is like what feels right to you. But what I say, is it okay to sell out? I don't think it's ever okay to sell out. Me personally, that's how I feel about it. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do, what's best for you in your situation.
And what's your definition too? I would say, because if an artist is told that, hey, if you, let's say that an artist is told, hey, like, I like this song from you, let's do more like that, then I feel like that's just you as an artist making a decision, like to make a certain type of art. Now, I think that's opposite of if somebody is like, hey, we don't like nothing about you, we need you to be this and act like this and pretend this, then to me, like, that's like a whole nother ball game.
Wait a minute, Charles, I got to call foul. Didn't we have a problem with the fact that they wanted Dave Chappelle to be able to say the N-word, but he couldn't say things that pertain to other nationalities? I know you and I both have. So how can you say that the way that I interpreted it was that you said, we want you to push this type of your music, but don't go to the other? That sounds like the same thing. Selling out is selling out.
I mean, I think it's perspective, but I know. I think it's perspective, because if it's part of you, then to me that's not selling out versus somebody's trying to re-image you and make you something that you're not.
So if you say it's part of you, I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah, possibly. Like take Nas for instance. Like remember when Jay-Z dissed him? Like Jay-Z said, "Is it Black Girl Lost or Shorty Owe You for Ice?" So like those are both dynamics of Nas. I think Nas's longevity is because he's been able again to balance what's entertainment.
Yeah.
But he's so conscious that we also let him get by with that because we're like, yeah, he's also gonna feed us too.
But there's also what you do and who you are.
Yeah.
And those aren't always the same things. Because then, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I might make a mistake and people on my side might say, man, let's extend them some grace and mercy. But the person who went through whatever I caused was like, nah, that's not grace and mercy. He made a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, the whole thing about Kendrick blowing up Drake, it makes me think of 50 and Ja Rule, where it's like we were just looking for a reason not to like him. We didn't know why we didn't like him.
Yeah, you're right.
But it was like, oh yeah, that's why we kind of don't feel right about that. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like it's, you know.
But one thing I was going to say too, though, even talking about like the consciousness and like music, but when we think about like this conversation around the top 3 artists, they're all like lyrically like dope artists. You know what I'm saying? When you think about J. Cole, you think about Kendrick, you think about Drake. And I think that is also when you think about that separation, if we look at hip hop as a whole, all of the other stuff that's not really, you know, that folks don't feel like is the great, it's not really getting all the way to that specific level of like, okay, these are our top rappers right now, and all of them do bring lyricism, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's still important, it still matters, and something I still hold true to.
Gotcha. Thank you.
This is Max joining the conversation late. So I'm back here giggling on the inside because Sexy Red is an easy target for me. Right? So I'm always bringing finding a way to work her into our conversation, and this one just fits perfectly. No, but you know, I wanted to ask, and pardon me if y'all have already covered this, but
we have not covered Sexy Red.
Well, on a serious note, how female rap artists you believe have changed the industry? Just get your opinion on that. Whether or not it's for the better, whether or not it's, you know, they blazing new trails, and then again, what about your thoughts about the type of things that they're rapping about, particularly Sexy Red, and how that hurts the consumers?
Man, that's a loaded question. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to break down there. I think, well, a few different things. One, with music, like you make music for different moods and different times, right? So I think some of the music that like we are getting from some of our female artists are for like the turn up, you know what I'm saying? So as we even talk about like the conscious hip hop or the conscious rap, it's also about like, when do you listen to music? When do you want to listen to that? And where do you want to listen to it? Where do you want to consume the music, right? There has to be a space for all of those things. I think what's happening right now though, and what I am actually very thankful of, is like there is more female artists that's out, because it's always had just been like mostly like Nicki, you know what I'm saying? And like that was it.
Like Nicki and Queen.
Right, exactly. But also I think people, as we talk about like Sexy Red, like I don't think there's an artist that I love and adore so much, which is Rhapsody, which I don't think we talk enough about, right? And I think even the difference right now with Rhapsody, like she just put out a project, and like she is like showing up more and being in these spaces more, and you know what I'm saying? And I think like creating that type of music is also there, and it's also in the space. But it's also, you know, I mean, what does it do for the consumer that's you know, taking in the music? I mean, again, it depends on like, is it making you get through your day? You know what I'm saying? Like after you've had a long day of work, like do you get in the car and you be like, all right, I'm gonna turn up and get loose a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And then you keep it pushing. So I don't really judge those artists. I think that again, it's a different time and a different place, and we have different artists for different things.
I'm with you 100% on that. With you 100%. Yeah, great answer. Because like to me, it's like where I draw the line is again how I said earlier on how there's no balance, right? It's like we get pushed that this is what's hot. And I think like real like hip hop heads be like, that ain't really hot. But at the same time, like you said, I totally get it. If we turn it up in the club, throw some Sexy Red on, right? You know what I mean? Like so that makes sense. But don't put her in a category with a Rhapsody. You know what I mean? It's like so yeah. But yeah, we are talking to Lady Tage, ladies and gentlemen. And as we said, Tage, you are performing at Soul of Seville. Talk to us a little bit about that. How did that come about? Because you've been on a hella press run. I mean, like the rollout for this album been nothing short of special. So how did the Soul of Seville, which is next week, y'all, August 16th and 17th, for us, by us. Shouts out to everybody. But how did that come to be, and what does that mean to be a part of the Soul of Seville?
Let me tell you something. I have last year when Solo Seville happened, I was like, I had been keeping my eye on it because I was like, I really want to be a part of this thing, and I am waiting for it to roll around this, this go around. So I couldn't wait to like jump on the opportunity. But really, honestly, like when I knew that it was coming up, and I was actually talking to one of my friends in the community, Shamor Cooper. We shout out to Shamor.
Yeah, shout out.
And I was like, who do you know? Like, who's putting this thing together? I really want to perform this thing. And that's what, manifesting is very important, and she had told me about Kalila and put me in touch with her. And so I had reached out to her, sent her my music, and she was really supportive of it, really excited about it. And really that's how that like came about, to the point to where one of the songs that I shared with her, she reached back out to me and was like, I would love for you to perform this at the award ceremony, which is really dope.
Okay.
And then also too, with like the Best in Black, and also winning Best Female Hip Hop Artist this year, which is like such a dope feeling.
Talk your ish, Tate.
It's like the timing couldn't be any better. I will say that. But it's such a great feeling. But like honestly, too, being in a space and like, this year, like it's all about Black excellence. And I'm like, oh, like this is my, like the talking to my spirit, right? Like this is something I have to be a part of. So I'm so grateful to be somewhere where there is a space created like for us, you know what I'm saying? The for us bias. That's for us, but also like representation is so important. So it's like for the, the next generation that's like coming to like see, female rappers in the space and performing, and to like uplift like these entrepreneurs and like these Black businesses and all the things that are happening. I honestly feel so blessed to be in the space, but it also feels so right,
Yeah, that's what's
so y'all come on out. I'm looking forward to that,
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, none other than Lady Tage, new project out, The Awakening. Tage, like any last words, any last plugs on that project, and other stuff that you have coming up as well. If there's other performances or where people can check you out, but make sure they know how to, how to see you and get that album.
Yeah. So again, The Awakening is out right now. You definitely want to stream and download that. I'm dropping videos, so make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms at LadyTaij. That's Lady Tage. I'm also going to be performing at Stanton Jams Festival. So next month I'm going to be at Stanton Jams, and I'm kind of on that press run right now, so I'm kind of here, there, a little bit of everywhere. But y'all make sure y'all lock in with me. And The Awakening is out. It's great music, and there's more to come. So I'll be looking forward to coming back and having more conversations.
Good stuff. Miss Max, Razor, y'all good?
Yeah, good.
All right, fam. Y'all stay tuned. Stay tuned. IMHO Talk Show.
Yeah.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust.
Look at that. Oh, what's up, good people online? The good people online, y'all don't know if y'all knew this, but they were watching our live stream, and the promo, the CIM promo done by the Good Ty Cooper with a Short Shot Life View Marketing. And I had to cut it short because we wanted to get back in here and talk to the folks, talk to the people. So but y'all see that on loop all the time. So, I know I ain't too upset with me, but IMHO Talk Show. We still here in the booth in the building. And we wanted to come back. We got a jam-packed show because it's that time of year, like Raisin I said at the top, Max. It's so we got to get in where we fit in. We're gonna be joined by none other than Leslie Scott Jones, good friend of the show, consistent over there, the home girl. That's right, over there at the Heritage Center. We're gonna be joined by Miss Virginia. Miss Virginia 2024 reached out to us and said want to be on these here airwaves. And if I'm not mistaken, she's gonna pop up at the Solar Seaville too. So we're gonna talk to her a little bit about that.
She's on the station in the morning time on Sundays.
Oh, word? Okay. I mean, they just told me Miss Virginia. Like I didn't even make that connection. I ain't know it was the same thing.
I'm almost certain we talking about the same thing. Yeah,
she family.
She comes on before I do.
Okay.
Yeah, on Sunday mornings. Yeah.
Look at that. James just got so much talent. But then we're gonna close this show last hour. Y'all don't want to miss it. Special. We told y'all that none other than the Honorable, as I call him, the Honorable Nakaya J. Walker, former mayor of Charlottesville, said she was gonna be back.
Yeah,
and she is back and in full effect. And she got
sister number one.
And she got a team. She got a team, and she's gonna tell us about the work that she is pursuing right now, still for the people,
still for the people,
still for the people. So y'all don't want to miss that. But man. But I mean, what else can we talk about besides the elections, besides the campaign trail? I mean, like we would be remiss because we always tell folks to make sure they check out these county board of supervisor meetings, check out your school board meetings, city council meetings, know what's going on, be involved, donate, volunteer to all these worthy causes we have. So we know all that. But I had a question for y'all, I guess maybe to frame this conversation, so we get a little guidance here. I want to know about people versus policy. Like my question is, what is the difference between people and policy? And I say that because this stems off of our last conversation. We started talking about the presidential election and stuff, and it's something that we're hearing ongoing in the news and in the community, which is people have so many reasons now about who they're supporting. Like when it comes to who they plan to vote for and whether they vote Democratic or Republican, right? And what stands out to me the most is that sometimes we're not voting for the betterment of our government. Like we got people talking about she a woman. We got people talking about, we got people talking about like the issues when it comes to like taking the country back, like the whole Making America Great Again theme, right? And so, and like some people say the Democrats, like what have Democrats done for us and all that? So they say, well, let's vote for an alternative. But so the last thing I was gonna say about that, Razor, is that is it people or is it policy? Because are we looking at the policy so that we're not basing it on the actual people, regardless of who's in office? You can still get on your grind. So why say because Democrats hold up certain, like some people say social services has made it a crutch for the Black community. Like we're too dependent. But my thing is that why even is that a determining factor? So some people need the social services.
Correct.
We should be encouraging each other and empowering each other to get on our grind, to be able to do what it is we need to, to flourish. Like, so are we too focused on the person or the policies? What's the difference to y'all?
Is Razor looking at me? Because
I'll go. I'll go. No, I do that.
What you got?
Look,
I want to make sure she want to go behind me.
I need y'all to debunk something for me. That wouldn't matter. But I need y'all to debunk something for me. Did Trump really call Kamala the B word at one of his campaign rallies?
I haven't
heard. I hadn't heard that. But
more than one
showed
time.
Me something. Yeah, it said multiple times.
I would have put it past.
It's fit. It's fit though for the people that he's trying to move. Yeah. For the people that he's moving, they would want.
Man,
if he can make fun of a handicapped person, he can definitely call this woman out her name. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. That's the question.
Yeah, but I think you still spot on, Max, because that's my whole thing. Is like if for somebody to disrespect a sister, I'm over if y'all don't want to agree she a sister, I'm still calling her a sister.
She not,
but
go ahead.
Don't matter.
But either way,
it don't matter. She not.
All right, so a woman of color,
yes,
for her to be openly disregarded and disrespected, and for someone to like insult the motherland and so many developing countries that people in this country come from, and just like the unpreparedness in my opinion. And I only can liken it to Madison County since I'm from there. I remember, sitting in a town hall and seeing how there was a Black female so prepared, answering the questions succinct, direct, educated. But then when the people get on the stage, they just like sort of like pull at the heartstrings of the bigots or the racists with stuff that makes no difference. It's not bettering the county or the schools or anything. That's what the people vote for. And it's like they don't even care how respectful, how presidential, how prepared you are. It's like we have these ulterior motives, and that's what I'm trying to get people to see. Is like who actually does what in the fact check it. Fact check it, number one. Like let's get off social media and just believe in every wind of doctrine, as the Bible says, and like let's fact check some stuff and make sure that we're voting based on what's going to be better for our people and our community.
I guess, can it be both? Does it have to be a people or policy?
Yes.
Because I think that the people should inform the policy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm with you. But I also, the more I become enlightened about what's going on around me, the more that we talk about policies, the more we talk about truth. And truth is something that people don't really like once we're talking about your truth. So then it becomes, can I move the people? Because if I can move the people, then I can put my own agendas in place. And that is what politics is.
Right.
So you got what politics should be, and you got what politics is. Anytime that I can move the crowd, whether we talking about hip hop, if we're talking about white supremacists, if we're talking about if this lady of color of Jamaican descent and Indian descent is an African American,
the world sees her as Black, though. You realize that? Like we can dress it up anywhere she goes. That's a Black woman.
Exactly. Until it comes to a hierarchy. Tiger Woods stopped being Black.
But let's just say that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be a matter of debate.
Remember,
or discussion.
The last show that we had, we got what should be and what is.
Right. No, I'm with you.
And anytime that we deal with what should be, we're going to get lost in what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all
And
this.
that's what happens to our community.
I mean, I think we do raise. I agree that politics is what it is, and I think that it has to be discussed in truthfulness for the spirit or betterment of the country. Right? It has to be spoken about or discussed in truth and in honesty, but that is also a measure that must be taken in order to dismantle the areas of it where it is broken, which is why my response here would be that the people must influence the policy. And that's what we've gotten away from. We see examples of that daily, which is why kind of our country is in but is why our country is in, or the world is in the condition that it's in. But ain't none of this gonna matter because we need more Jesus. We need more God.
And I don't see it as broken.
Thing.
I don't see it as broken.
Yeah.
Like I see it being what it is. You know, we live right down from Jamestown. They came here, they stole, they took, they robbed, they killed, they moved across the, they landed in the Indies, and it became, the system isn't broken. We need to stop saying that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That the system is broken. The system is not broken because it is what the system
doing what
is.
it was meant to do.
Right. But we've been in survival mode from the word beginning, and we don't want to be anymore.
And that makes me think about the mindset that I see a lot. It's kind of split where it comes to folks who's like making that point and say, so just burn it down, let's start over. But then you have the other side, like
Max said that. That's who said that, Max.
But then you have the other side that says, but we still have a democracy we have to uphold. Like we have children that starts to live in this country.
We don't have a democracy.
You know what I mean? But
that's a facade. That's a fake thing. But
check what I'm saying though.
It's not real.
But check what I'm saying is with all the fallacies that the country has, there's still that two mindset of like, since it's corrupt, just let it fail. Let's do something totally different versus the mindset of let's try to improve on what we have, like for the sake of future generations. Like I see a huge divide amongst people with those two things right now on if we want to burn it down and start over, or do we need to fix what we have?
We don't need to burn it down, and we don't need to fix what we have, right? When we're talking about political landscape, in my humble opinion, right? You have whatever the majority is. So the people who have the most success are the people that can operate in whatever is actually happening at that time. When we're talking about y'all went Bible, we're talking about being in the wilderness. I'm not going to act as though I'm in feast and honey and milk and all those things, right? I'm going to operate in the mindset of the famine so that I can survive it.
I'm glad you said that.
That's where we're at right now.
I'm so glad you said that because I want to drive that point home because I hear so many people talk about, again, I go back to how they say, what have Democrats done for us? Where like they make us too dependent, they're controlling us. And they say, if you have Republican in, then it's like free market and all that stuff. Here's my thing with that is that I'm like, you can grind no matter who's in office. Like, I just hate that excuse.
100%.
You got to.
I hate that excuse though, Max, because I'm like, am I supposed to disregard like my, just for example, like my sister who may have fell on hard times. She got kids to take care of. She's struggling. There should be support. That's what I want my tax dollars to go to. I don't want it to go to war. So some people need those services that like that we claim are holding us back. But it's our job, Razor, when we're successful to educate and empower people.
Okay.
Like, to be able to rise above it. Not to say I ain't voting for y'all, like, because too many people in my community are on welfare. To me, that's asinine.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
we just had the book fair and everything.
I think
Do you think people with $300 haircut, $300 hairdos, brand new nails, and a 1997 Lamborghini should be out there getting free services out there with the?
It needs reform. I agree with that.
No. Okay. Y'all really?
No, it needs reform. I'm agreeing with you.
I'm just saying. Just think about it.
We don't throw it all out. That's what I'm saying. The system needs reform.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's I don't know.
No, I think that we're being some people are narrow-minded in the way that. When even Razor spoke of, I guess we could call them entitlements or different things like that, that when we say we're crippling ourselves to a degree, that people are not differentiating the to a degree part. It's not that we need to do away with it altogether. We all recognize that assistance is needed. But the policy needs to be, in my opinion, also reformed in a way so that it more prompts people to be at some point stand alone
Yeah.
versus totally dependent upon that service in perpetuity.
But y'all talking about accountability, and people don't like for you to say nothing to them about their insufficiencies.
Well,
So I can't see that happening.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they can't unlearn that.
I don't see it.
Like, but I heard Max
I didn't say it
mention
wouldn't be
Jesus.
difficult,
Right. And I heard Max mention Jesus a minute ago. These people claiming to make America great and get about Christian values, like, where did Jesus at in these people?
Yeah.
Like, why do
It's
we
not
think?
there.
Yeah, like, why the way these people act, but they want to say like that they hold the moral compass, and that's another thing that's our job. It's like, in my opinion, when you vote, not everybody is the human race is not a monolith. Like, we supposed to be voting for the betterment of all people.
Right.
And if you are Christian, you're supposed to be evangelizing. My president don't need to be an
But our
evangelizer.
oppressors are monolith. That's the thing, because the second that our oppressors don't like what's going on, they start buying more guns. They start buying more bullets. They start, driving around with flags hanging off the back. They are a monolith, and they deal with fear now, no different than they dealt with fear back at the turn of the century. And our people, as violent as we may be portrayed to be, are forgiving, are less confrontational. We only hate what looks like us in the mirror, because anything else can do something to us and walk around us and do whatever they want to do at any given time. But the problem I also need to say is
I don't think we do that as much as we have in the past, though.
we definitely do. We definitely do.
As much as we have.
Yep, 9 to 5.
I don't know about that.
Not 9 to 5. Like most people.
What makes you feel that way?
Most people won't actually say how they feel against somebody that's voting for something that is totally against everything that's going to harm you and your community. But we have to get up and go to work. And if they say something, if we speak our mind, we speak it in a way differently than we would if we were around our own people outside. You know what I'm saying? And that is fear-based to me. We cannot, but if we call ourselves, man, you scared. I ain't scared, such and such. Man, I got kids in. Then we show the justification. I ain't scared, man. I got kids in college. I ain't scared, man. I got this brand new house I just bought.
Feel unequipped to be able to respond to those things.
Right. Exactly. That's perfect.
Different.
That's perfect.
That's different, though.
Well, we feel unequipped because it's internal. Because if the same person said the same thing and looked just like you, you'd have something to say.
Oh yeah,
as a whole.
Ain't no holds barred.
So we can't use, but we can't use that though.
And not think twice.
Yeah, but we
Go
can't.
get some sleep.
We can't use that. Right. We can't use that, and that's the problem with our community, is that we have all these exceptions waiting in the back of the car to be able to say why I allowed this to happen at somebody that doesn't look like me. That's why I said it'll never change.
Max, Max, I'll let you take us to break.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm saying close, like close in your own fashion.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't have much more to add to this conversation. It's definitely one it's definitely one we could keep having, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
But in the
No
moment,
doubt.
it's not much more to add. I will say that, I feel like the people should inform the policy. And I think we have a moral issue here. And I know people not everybody takes to my philosophical need better human beings in positions of power to be able to impact the change that we are talking about here today. So, stay with us. More conversation
Please
to come.
don't let Razor scare you.
Leslie Scott Jones of the African American Heritage Center.
Well, I'm that pit bull that his owners treat him good.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
MHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles.
Miss Max. Look,
Grace.
always
There's
got to
always
be the
one.
late one.
There's always a slacker.
Always got to be the late one.
We got wait, Razor, we got company.
Look, act like you've been somewhere.
Act like you've been somewhere. Act like you know something.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know that angelic voice that we have with us, none other than our good friend, family at this point.
That's right.
No stranger, Leslie Scott Jones of
Welcome.
the good Jefferson School African American Heritage Center.
How y'all?
Blessed.
Doing well.
Blessed on this Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day.
As my grandmother would say, blessed and highly favored.
That's it.
There you go.
Right?
That is what it is. Leslie, so thank you all immensely always. I think we should start there because we hope that you feel the reciprocation of our relationship when it comes to always shouting y'all out, supporting y'all, and then y'all always being willing to work with us and
absolutely.
and to support this platform.
Yeah.
And to utilize it for things such as this, because y'all staying busy. And so glad to have you on. Glad to have you on and let the folks know, what not to miss.
Yeah, this is what happens when an organization is run by Black women.
Hey, that's right.
We stay busy. There's always
something to do.
There's always something to do. There's always something going on. So yeah, the Greens Cook-Off is coming back September 7th. If you want to sign up to be a cook, the sign up is on our webpage.
Okay. Collard green, we cook all kinds of greens like collard, kale.
However y'all want to do it. However y'all do it. However y'all do it in y'all's kitchen.
Okay.
Come on and bring it. Okay. It's gonna be on the yard. So it's greens, mac and cheese, and dessert. So it used to be just pound cake.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell y'all, I wouldn't mind having a little peach cobbler.
Okay.
Sweet
potato pie?
I wouldn't mind having a sweet potato
There we
pie.
go. Okay.
I wouldn't mind having an apple pie. Come on, y'all. Let's pound cake can only get you so far. You know what I'm saying? So please bring all the things.
Last year you were like, I had enough of this pound cake.
Man, so much pound cake.
Remind me to expand the menu next year.
Please. So yeah, sign up to be a cook. Our volunteer coordinator, our chair for Greens Cook-Off, Nancy Blakely. She also has paper applications. She'll be passing them around. If you see her in the street, ask for one. She's gonna have them on hand.
Holla at the place.
Put them on people's dashboards, their windshield, cook your greens.
And it's gonna be on the yard. We're gonna have Hurt City DJs playing some music for us all day. It's gonna be a time where we gather on the yard, share some food, and crown somebody the best of greens, mac and cheese, and desserts.
Yeah. So who won last year? Do you remember?
So
the greens, at least.
Last year nobody entered with greens. I know. I was so surprised. I was like, really? What is going on? So last year we had mac and cheese and desserts, and Miss Katrina won mac and cheese, like she do. And I see her face. I can't think of her name, but she won for a dessert. And oh my God, this I think it was a blackberry pie. Ooh,
was it good?
We going to lunch after this?
But look, Leslie, where the old
Am I
folk
making
at?
y'all hungry?
Nobody entered the competition for greens.
I know, it was so weird. It was so weird. But we made do with what we had, So we got some good mac and cheese, and we got some. It was lovely. So I will always eat. So as my hips can attest to.
And when's that date again?
So it's September 7th from 10 to 3. And as usual, y'all bring the food. We will bring the little cups for you to, serve everybody so they can taste and vote. We'll supply tables. But you need to be in charge of bringing the food and keeping it warm or cold or however you want to do it. But yeah,
you serve your own food.
You serve your own food. And we are not doing judges this time. In years past we've done like celebrity judges. This is all community based. So the people that show up, they pay their little $5 and they get in and they taste your stuff and they gonna vote for you, right? And then at the end of it, we will crown the winners of greens, mac and cheese, and dessert. And your little $5 that you put in the hopper will then be divided between the 3 winners, so they get a little something.
Right. And so are we ranking our votes like my first choice, second choice, third choice? No, everybody gets one vote.
You can vote as many times as you want.
Okay.
You can vote as many times as you want, and the person who has the most votes for that thing is going to be crowned the winner.
Okay.
Straightforward.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to make it easy. I like to work smart, not hard.
That's right. Keep it simple for us.
Sound like a good time.
Keep it
Music, food,
right?
Southern
Music,
food too.
Yes. That stuff your grandma cooked. Yes, absolutely.
Leslie, like at a time, and it's crazy because I had a cousin's cookout yesterday, and it was more than apparent that we're at a time where we are like losing touch with each other. We are like divided. We are distracted, and we don't congregate like we used to at Big Mama's.
I know.
You know what I mean? And so I'm curious on, like, when you think about an event such as this, what does this mean to the culture?
It means everything to the culture. It's a celebration of the culture. I mean, you think about it. Everything we do involves food.
Prayer changes things and food changes things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was not a Sunday evening that when I was growing up that we didn't go to my grandmother's house, one of them, for Sunday dinner. Like there wasn't a time where you entered one of my grandmother's house or my mother's house for that matter, and some woman that was in the kitchen didn't come out and go, baby, you need something to eat?
Yeah. You hungry?
Is you hungry? Girl? Did you eat today? Can I get you something?
Yep.
Right. I mean, that is how we grew up. It's how we express care for each other. So it absolutely is important. And I think it's not just important for, the fanfare and, ooh, I won and all that, but it's also important because these younger generations need to understand why it's important.
That's right.
Right. It's not just about, oh, so-and-so won, best greens or so-and-so won best dessert. It's also about the care and love that went into fixing that particular thing.
Which you can taste.
Yes, ma'am. It is about the tradition of how your family prepares those things. It's about passing those things down to the next generation. Like my mother passed down a recipe for potato bread to me that was given to her mother's mother. And it's been passed down to the first daughter in our family for hundreds of years.
That's beautiful.
And it's not written down. Ain't no piece of paper that tells us how to do this.
That's right. You got it.
You in the kitchen with mom,
right.
and she said, okay, now we're going to add the flour in, and this is how you do it. And now we're going to add this in, and this is how you do it. So it's important.
You know what I think changed that? I think drugs changed that. I think people didn't mind alcoholics in their house, but people don't particularly like drug addicts in their house. And now that we have started to legalize certain, medicinal things, there are a lot of people that, when they smell marijuana, they just like, especially when you got kids, you're like, man, Lord, that's all you smell around here now, right? So now I'm gonna bring you in and let you sit on my couch.
So you're saying we got bougie and like we don't want certain cousins and uncles coming over like we used to. That's pretty much what you're saying.
We could deal with alcohol. Well, one, we used to own more land and property, people could be outside.
Amen.
But now that a lot of us live in places where you don't have a yard, they have to be in your house, or your neighbors have to see the unclean side of your family. And we have gotten to the point, like you said, bougie, where we don't want to associate ourselves with certain things. So I don't know how we get back without events like this. I don't know how we get back to that point.
Right.
Definitely need it.
Right. And I think we also need to understand that, to your point, we are demonizing a portion of our culture, right? A portion of our family. We're basically saying you ain't good enough to come to the cookout no more. And I think, if I can be completely blunt, that's very white of you.
That's what I was thinking.
You know what I'm saying? That's really white of you.
I mean, I chose bougie, but I feel you.
Because that's not how we do.
Right.
When there is a cousin of ours that's messing up, we bring him in the house and be like, what you messing up for?
That's right. That's right.
Like, you ain't supposed to be doing that. What do you need? What can I do? Do you need a foot in your because I'll do it.
That's right.
If it's gonna get you right.
Yeah. And there was also a different version, if you will, of respect.
Yes.
Back then. So there were certain things you just didn't do anyway.
You know what?
Because you knew, despite what type of lifestyle you were living, that it was improper to do
it in that house,
right?
In that moment,
right?
Yeah. So Leslie, we do have a question from a listener. A couple of questions. Were there any invites, or in particular was it just open? Like, for instance, like we have a lot of Black-owned restaurants in the area, a lot of Black caterers. And if someone wants to join, remind them specifically, how do you sign up?
You just go to our website, jeffschoolheritagecenter.org/culture and heritage, and scroll down and you'll see the form to sign up to be a cook right there on the right side of the page. I mean, if one of the Black caterers in the area wants to enter, come on. Come on.
Yeah. So that is September the 7th from noon to 3 at the
10 to 3.
I'm sorry, 10 to 3, my bad. At the Heritage Center.
Because we got music, we're gonna be out there for a minute.
Let me correct myself. But so what else you want to plug, Leslie? Because I know you're busier with more than one thing. You are a great multitasker. So
I am. I am known for doing at least 5 things at once. So we also have our October show coming up. So we finished the August Wilson American Century Cycle last October. And now we are beginning with we've chosen another Black author to do like a deep dive, and we chose Alice Childress. A lot of people don't know Alice Childress, and there are several reasons for that, white supremacy being one of them. But
why? Can you say why? Like,
she
10 words or less. No, I'm just playing.
No, she was
she keeps it real,
unaltering in her vision. Like, Broadway came knocking for a lot of her shows. And there was a caveat that she needed to dumb it down, that she needed to make it more palatable to white audiences. And she was like, no.
Okay.
I wrote what I wrote.
Unapologetic.
And if you want it, you want it. And if you don't, that's fine too.
Respect.
Yeah. She was that woman.
Gotcha.
So we will be doing at least 3 seasons of Alice Childress. The very first one, I am directing it along with my friend Munir Ahmad Nasir. It's called Wine in the Wilderness. The write-up says, oh, it's about an artist painting a picture. In actuality, it's about the woman that has been brought to his apartment to be painted. Right? And it's about this woman who doesn't look stereotypical, pretty, right? Who was basically asked to come back to this stranger's apartment because his friends thought she would be a good model for their friend who's a painter. And she doesn't find out until later that the reason his friends thought she would be good was because, in his words, in the artist's words, she is the quote unquote broke down woman. And he's painting a triptych, which is a group of paintings, a group of 3 paintings that tell a story. So he has the African queen and he has the little black girl in her Sunday best. And now he needs the broke down woman to complete his triptych, which is a comment on the state of black womanhood.
And this is a black man's thought process.
Process.
You have to say it like that, man.
I'm sorry.
No, but she right to say it like that.
I mean, but
it's sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, it's a sorry, not sorry.
But it doesn't make it hurt any less.
And you know what? You can hurt for your brethren.
Hey, absolutely.
We know that you not like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that caveat.
Let it go.
You can feel for your
when
brethren.
she turned towards him, I just said, let me see some oh man, let me act like I'm not here real quick.
You know, they cut the backs was talking about know how to act when they come to say let it go.
But what happens is that this woman who they all thought a certain way about because of how she looks and how she dresses and how she talks, she ends up teaching all of them something. Right? She becomes the griot in this story and basically points out their missteps, right? It's like, oh, you think that way about me because of 1, 2, and 3. What have you thought about? You know, like she puts up a mirror to all of them. And it's a gorgeous story in that way. It's really beautiful to see this woman who made decisions about how she presents herself to the world so that she wouldn't be bothered. Right? In all the ways that women get bothered on a street. Right?
Yeah.
And then to have her own people think of her a certain type of way because of that. Right?
That's deep.
It's deep.
Yes, indeed.
It's deep
and
it's
real.
Indeed. Leslie, none other than Leslie Scott Young. but what else is worth mentioning today? Because you know we're gonna have you back. Like, but what else is coming up that people need to know?
So Wine in the Wilderness opens actually the week of my birthday. So that's your birthday present to me. Come see the show.
Okay.
October 3rd through the 13th, Thursday through Sunday. And then and then later in October, we're gonna have a Black farmers market.
Okay.
I'm starting work on that next week. And then in December, we have Kwanzaa. And our African drummers, our little babies, our little Echo East children, they are every Saturday morning, they're practicing, getting ready to perform at Kwanzaa. And there are still slots in that class. So if you got some little ones at home who may want to learn how to drum, get them signed up and come on every Saturday morning. Buster is there waiting to, disseminate the knowledge.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Like none other.
Yeah, they're having fun.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking, Leslie, like some of these ideas are just so far out of the scope of what you might think a heritage center might do. What do you just sit around and no, it's all beautiful, it's wonderful, but do you sit around thinking, now what can I do? What's the next thing? Like, how creative can I get here?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And a lot of these things literally come, one of us, either me or Dr. Douglas, will literally like have an epiphany, an idea. Like Dr. Douglas is famous. She will come into the office and be like, I had an idea in the shower. And that's when I go, oh Lord.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of work coming my way. That's what's going to happen right now.
Yep.
Wow. Well, I think it's absolutely amazing. And what you guys do for the community is invaluable, right? Like a Black farmers market. Have we had one of those in Charlottesville?
No, there are farmers markets everywhere.
Right.
But there's never been one that's focused on Black farmers in the area.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them, y'all. There are so many Black farmers. And it's not just like produce and meat. There's this one mother and daughter, and the mother does paintings and purses and all kinds of like home things, and her daughter grows her own herbs and makes soaps and lotions and all kinds. So it's not just your regular farmers market, right? It's the width and breadth of how Black people do stuff,
right?
Because you know we go extra.
I'm sure that the farmers were excited to hear from you. Like, we are here.
You know,
thank you for giving us a platform.
Them for a couple of years, and every year I get a couple more where they're like, oh, we heard you doing something. Yes,
that's amazing.
Come on, right? Because we want to support those farmers,
right?
Like they need to survive just like any other Black business.
That's right.
And they are doing work that we are absolutely going to need in the coming years, because if y'all haven't noticed, there are more and more chemicals being put into our food.
Right.
You know, hundreds of chemicals are being put into the food that we buy in a grocery store every single day.
Yeah.
We need Black farmers who are doing it without chemicals, who are doing it in a way that will absolutely feed and care for the people that eat that food. We're gonna need them.
Right.
So we need to make sure that they stick around.
That's right.
Very well said.
Support.
Very well said.
Yeah.
You saw they passed a bill to support Black farms.
Yes.
You know, to provide more grant money.
Yeah.
The Black farms. So that's beautiful. You right on time, Leslie.
Yeah, we try to be.
Yes, indeed. So Leslie, thank you for joining us as always.
Right.
Yeah,
Stay in touch. And for those who may not know, please tell them how they follow the good work.
Yes, absolutely. So it's our website, jeffschoolheritagecenter.org. We are also on Instagram, Cville Jeff School. We're on Facebook, Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. We're on Twitter, which I think is also Cville Jeff School.
Okay.
Like we're everywhere.
Right.
We are everywhere.
Yeah.
You outside.
Yes. And and if you didn't know, we've also in some ways started to go door to door, because we were at West Haven Days last weekend.
Beautiful.
I'm sitting here. I am driving in, and Dr. Douglas is already over there. She's like, I forgot this. Can you bring it to me? I'm like ferrying stuff back and forth between.
They didn't put one of y'all in the dunk tank, did they?
I was not in the dunk tank. I was making sure some lovely children got a drumming class. That's what I was doing.
There you go. Well,
thank you so much. It's always so much fun when you stop by.
Oh, I'm so glad. It's always fun to be here.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Hello.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles,
Miss Max
Razor.
That's right. That's right. Here to continue to take Seville to the world and bring the world to Seville.
That's it.
Is that still cool with y'all? Is that still the mission?
That's the tagline, right?
The tagline. All right. Well, you know what, y'all? Right now we have a very, very special guest. We gotta get now. I know
that's an understatement.
It is understatement, and I know that she has received probably too many flowers. She probably tired of getting flowers.
No, bring out.
Look, she said no. She shook her head. No, I'm not. You got some flowers? But we are joined by none other than your 2024 Miss Virginia, Carlia Swanson. Congratulations, Miss Swanson. First of all, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, indeed. So,
don't her voice sound familiar though?
It does sound a little familiar. So,
it sounds Sunday morning-ish.
So, Carlia, and I am saying your name correctly, right?
Yes, that's
all right.
correct.
Thank you. And so let the folks know that may be familiar with your voice. Where maybe have they heard that voice?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 101.3 Jam Charlotte.
Every Sunday. 8 a.m. That's right. Like we got queens up on the air, 101 Jams.
Yes,
I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So congratulations once again. So now give us your story, your origin story, because you have roots here, correct?
That is true. So I'm currently a fourth year PhD student at UVA, the Minister of Music at Pilgrim Baptist Church. I've done some community service efforts with like Community of Promise and UVA Equity Center. So I've been loving Charlottesville and being out in the community and getting to know, Charlottesville is like a big family. So I've been enjoying being a part of that family.
Yeah, that is all. That's good stuff. So, and Carlia, so it sounds like a great foundation. Now, where did the desire to run in pageants begin? Like, sort of give us this give us the story leading up to becoming Miss Virginia.
It's been a long journey. It's been a 10-year journey. I started competing in pageants when I was 16. I was singing at my aunt's funeral. Someone heard me singing and they said, you know what? You got a good talent. You should come and do this pageant. So I competed in that pageant. And I think what kept me interested was the community service aspects, to see what the other girls and the differences they were making in their community. So that started at 16. And this was my 6th time at Miss Virginia trying at the crown. I feel like every time that I came back, I just learned something new about myself. You know, pageantry has changed my life. I think some people think it's glitz and glam, but it's a scholarship opportunity. I won $22,500 as Miss Virginia. I won over $50,000 in total. And when you look at the communities, the women that are making a difference, you know, pageants have inspired that with the certain community service initiatives that women have.
Let's talk about what, if I'm not jumping ahead of myself, Charles, outside of, I guess, the monetary benefits from participating in pageants, let's talk about the experience and the impact itself, and in what ways that's, you know, helped to mold your life.
Yes. So I grew up being rather shy, scared to speak up. And I think the biggest thing has been the interviewing skills, the public speaking skills, the resume building skills. Because of pageantry, I feel confident to go into any job because of those skills that I've earned, being aware of what's going on in the community, being able to build my resume, things like that. And also the networking, the people that compete in pageants, you know, the sister queens, the local title holders, they're involved in their communities, and we have crossover initiatives where we're able to help each other with the work in the community.
Did being a minority in those type of competitions ever become an issue for you? And if so, how did you work through that?
Great question. I think it's important to remember when the pageant started. So the Miss America opportunity started in the 1920s, and that was a very different time in our society. So I think it's really important that as we continue to progress, we continue to have these conversations about how we can be inclusive, how we can include people from all backgrounds and continue to be inclusive.
Kalia, I have a question for you. Now, like Mike said, jumping a little bit, I have the benefit of hearing you every Sunday morning before I go on, right? So what got you into doing the interviews and wanting to put them on FM radio?
Yeah, so I went to Highland Springs High School in Richmond, Virginia. So they have a technical center. So that's what started my love for radio. I took their radio and broadcasting class that they had there. And it really started during the pandemic. So I have this community service initiative called Music is Unity. And so during the pandemic, we were all in the house, but we all wanted to connect with each other. So I started pulling musicians and artists and athletes and interviewing them. And when I arrived in Charlottesville, it just felt like a great fit to put those interviews on the radio.
Okay. We're thankful to have you here at 101.3.
And also something else tied to that, but before we move any further, I'm still curious, you know, because we are Urban Radio show, and in my humble opinion, you know, like there's no cut cards here, right? And so, you know, speaking to the young girl who, you know, who may see you and is inspired, right? But they may know history, like you mentioned, of the pageantry. Right. And so know the struggles like that we have to overcome. Like, so to that girl who may feel like that she doesn't fit the mold, what would you tell her?
Yeah, I think representation is so important, just going out and seeing the girls and letting them know that they can do this, and also showing them that the way you show up is enough for the pageant. The hair that you have, the way that you dress, the way that you are in your community. It's important to show up who you are as your authentic self. And that's something that I've been able to do through this 10 years in pageantry. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter what I put on, to make sure that I'm always showing up as myself. And that's what I encourage young Black girls to do.
That's your advantage in a lot of ways, wouldn't you say?
It is.
Well, I mean, but I'm just saying, just in general, you know, as a Black female, that's the advantage.
Yeah, being yourself, when you're always yourself, when you're always authentic, you don't have to worry about slipping up because you're the same person all the time.
Preach. Yeah. Now, so we mentioned the connection to Jams, but you also are going to grace us with your presence at the Soul of Seaville this year. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I'm hearing. I think we're still working that out a little bit. Jaquan.
Hey, let's get on Jaquan.
Okay.
Almighty Dragon's feet. Now, well, we definitely hope to see you there.
You know my phone go ring.
we definitely hope to see you there, because Solar Seville is, I think having your representation would do nothing like but add to the value, and be able to meet folks there. And as I said, I'm sure you're already an inspiration, like to so many of our girls and folk, and I'm sure even some of your peers as well, that's inspired. So yeah. So that is coming up next week, Solar Seville, Ms. Max.
Yeah. No, I just had another question of any aspirations of participating in pageants on a I guess a national level.
Yeah, so that's coming up very soon. In January, I will be competing in Miss America. It's in Orlando. I'm very excited about it. It's like one of those moments where it feels like a life-changing moment. I've been waiting for 10 years and working towards this dream. So I'm excited that I get to showcase who I am and my talent on a national stage.
Yeah. Now, is that the normal progression of the next step you're taking, or are there like any out of the box ideas or aspirations that you have, like following this win?
Yes, so that's the highest level of pageant in the Miss America system, but definitely going into schools with Music is Unity. That's my community service initiative where I take music to those in schools and nursing homes because music unites us. So I'm looking forward to starting clubs in our local schools, making Music is Unity a national nonprofit, because I think music has the ability to connect us in ways that words may not. So that's definitely the next goal. In Miss Virginia, I also go on an ABC tour where I go to schools throughout the Commonwealth, partnering with alcohol beverage control, encouraging young people to make healthy choices. So I'm looking forward to that.
And Kalia, just to add one thing based off of what you, Max, and Charles had said, with your initiatives, I would urge you to think like this too. They're always going to ask you questions at the pageant about what have you done, what have you accomplished. You being voted Miss Virginia, and then coming back to something such as the Soul of Seville after we had 2017 and you bridging unity and showing the oppressed people how they can raise to different levels, like that's going to put you on the final stage right there.
Oh, thank you.
As indeed, we are joined by none other than 2024 Miss Virginia, Kalia Swanson. And I feel like I would do it injustice if I tried to figure out how to close the interview. So I'm gonna let them have some black girl magic.
Yeah,
Max, I'm gonna kick it to you, Max. What we
Oh no, look,
Give me 5 off hours.
Black girl magic. Go
I was
we gonna
like,
get out the
girl,
way.
how you learn how to walk like that, when you're on the stage, and what questions did they ask you during the competition and different things like that? You want to share anything about just the
Yeah, I
experience?
would love all of those. So when I first started doing pageants, I didn't really know anything. It was all a learning curve. Me and my mom kind of figured it out together. What gowns look good? Me and my mom, we were in the living room trying to figure out, get this walk together, get the smile together. So it was really a learning curve, and we worked together and figured that out. During the interview portion, they asked you a mix of questions. So I had some community service initiative questions about Music is Unity, some current event questions about things happening in the world. And then I also had some job interview type questions about what would you do differently as Miss Virginia? What would you bring to this job? And I was happy to talk about my dedication to Music is Unity, the work that I've done in the community and already going into the nursing homes and going to the school. So already doing that work. So that was kind of what I was able to share and prepare for in the pageant.
And what other responsibilities come along with representing the state in that way?
The ABC tour is the number one, going to the different schools with our partnership with ABC, spreading my personal platform, and also being an ambassador for the Miss Virginia opportunity.
Okay.
Good stuff.
All right. Congratulations.
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations. And we wish you the best of luck on the Miss America in the Miss America pageant.
Yeah. And I don't think you said it though, but after Miss America, like the international stage and like the international stage.
That's what I kept wanting to say, but I didn't know if it was.
Okay, so there's two different organizations. So there's Miss America, so there's like local title holder, Miss Virginia America, the Miss America, and then there's Miss Virginia USA, and then she goes to Miss USA, and then Miss USA goes to Miss Universe. So it's two different systems.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I stopped at Miss America.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Is it? Thank you. Bye.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see what is going on up in here. Why do I hear still that background music? Yeah. Anywho, it's IMHO Talk Show.
We got it. We good.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out. A little computer technical difficulty freezing up on us over here, but we're gonna get it right, get it tight. So, as promised, we are joined by none other than another very, very special guest. So tell a friend, tell a friend.
That's right.
Hashtag IMHO Talk Show. Because you got the Honorable, she know how to introduce her, the Honorable Nakaya J. Walker. And not only that, but she promised us and she delivered per usual, as she does in her fashion. She said she had something big for us. It had an announcement, and the news would be broke right here on your, in my humble opinion, talk show. So we definitely appreciate her for always trusting us,
coming through
with her, with her conversation and trusting us to properly relay the info to the community.
Right.
And so that's why it gives us pleasure to introduce her and some of her board members for a new activist organization called From the Imagination of Our Ancestors. And they have a definite worthwhile agenda to continue the work of activism of and representation of our community. So without further ado, Nakaya, good afternoon to you.
Hello, hello, hello. How's my sound?
That's right. Oh, great. Sound good. And and what we'll do is we'll do like a little round robin. And I know we have some other board members joining as well, but as of right now, we have you and Jay Sean on. So little check, Jay Sean, you can hear us clearly. It looks like your mic is muted, but just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah, do I sound all right?
You sound great, my brother. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
And I saw Danielle. So did she get disconnected?
It looks like Danielle it dropped off, but if y'all want to text her or something, let her know she can hop back on. I'm not sure. She may have gotten pulled away, but thank y'all for joining us once again on these 101 Jams airwaves to talk about Mayor, what you've been up to and how you are continuing to be an impact and an advocate and an activist. So give us the background on what you've been working on here.
Yeah. So here, a new nonprofit, which I was very hesitant to add because you all know how many nonprofits we have in this area, and really trying to figure out what my next moves were going to be here, how I could still, be of service. And it has taken me over 2 years to even make the decision. And then we're still as a board trying to narrow down exactly what we're going to do, but it's from the imagination of our ancestors. As you saw on the website, Clear is Day, an activist organization anchored in advocacy, and that's our starting point. We have 7 areas. The education, economics, criminal legal reform, health, housing, local government with the focus on Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and time served individuals. And those 7 areas will be areas that are focal point where people need assistance and they come to us. We will assist them in navigating and making sure that they experience fair and just services in those 7 areas. But I'll also be going above and beyond that and presenting to people, either organizations, individuals, or both of those city governments, what they could do better in those areas.
So can we start with the title? I would we can all make our fair assumption as to what that it means, right? But I also think there's some power. It's obviously some power in words. But for an individual to have to repeat that every time they come to talk about your nonprofit,
we need an acronym. Is what you're saying?
No, but there's kind of say that, from the imagination of our ancestors. So if you don't mind, Nakaya, could you kind of give us the background for your thought process in the name of your nonprofit?
Yeah, so the potential of nonprofit, walking through this community over the past 2 years, trying to heal from my time as mayor, there were a lot of names that popped up this name just stuck with me. I was doing some genealogy work last year, and ancestors. That's where the ancestors came from. I saw my grandmother on a census as a 7-year-old, and that just stuck with me like every day. And then I was actually watching one of the Color Purple interviews, and they talked about the director talked about being able to give Celie an imagination. And I thought Celie had an imagination. I thought Alice would that, but I'm like, okay. And so Ancestors and Imagination just played, and it just kept playing. And then one day I'm like, is this supposed to be the name? And right like around that time, from the desk of the CEO or from the CEO's desk also popped into my mind. So then I started playing around with those two names. From the imagination of our ancestors is what we landed on, and the board spent some time with that too. But how powerful is it to think about not the current condition you're in, but even people who had been in bondage before and been subjugated to these same type of conditions? Like, can we think back to what they imagined for us, what they prayed for us? And so, yes, your current condition may not be ideal, but if you go back to that, somebody's already imagined something greater for you and prayed for something greater for you. And can we, even no matter what you're going through today, can we work from that space that it can be better? And that somebody is going to be here to help you navigate and help you fight for it to be better is where that name came.
Gotcha.
Like that.
Yeah.
So Nakaya, as you mentioned, you assembled a team.
Yes.
So go ahead and let us know who's on this said team.
Oh, I got a fire team, and I know a couple of them text me and said they were running late, so hopefully they'll get here and be able to say. But we have Mr. Johnson on here with us. He's our youngest board member, and our board members range from their 80s with Dr. Harris to our 18-year-old. Okay, and so people thought it was just like insane. We have 10 board members on there, but you all know me well enough to know that I welcome the transparency and I welcome the accountability, and actually a team to hold, me accountable and hold each other accountable. And that's exactly what we have here. So Danielle Honore was just on here. She was in the community a few years ago at UVA, and she's now in Texas temporarily in law school. But she did a lot of activism with us here, and she actually strengthened the UVA community, try to bridge that divide in a way that very few have on their time at UVA. And so she's on here. Again, I said law school, so we get, that legal perspective, but she's also powerful in, education, understand race, racism, and those relationships that we need to either mend, bridge, burn. And so he's here. Chief Brackney, Rochelle Brackney, I still have a hard time. That's all I've ever. So that's what she. But Chief Brackney is the board president, and so we have criminal legal reform and time served individual as two of our areas, and that is her expertise. But also, while she was here, she showed that she had a commitment to trying to dismantled as much as she could of within policing. And so that's just still, we're not talking about enough. We still see that those conversations that we were very open to with when George Floyd was murdered, Sonia Massey was just assassinated in her kitchen. And you don't even hear as much about that today. And I'm not going to get off on a tangent for that, but it's still a very necessary conversation. And all of the reforms that we have hoped for years. I know when the first person that was murdered that broke my heart was Tamir Rice. And not just like I ignored everyone else, but that just stayed with me.
Right.
So intently, that I just could not let it go. And so we know we need those. We see Charlottesville reverting back to former practices. And I have I have a ton of stories I can share there, but that's why she's there. We have Dr. Leah Henry on the board member. She was just the chair of the Housing Authority Board. She's a public housing resident. She raised her kids in, the community. She came to this community as a student at the University of Virginia. And our website makes it clear that we are here to serve and honor and help Black people remember what you deserve, who you are, and to fill our lives with Black joy, as it says on there. And so she has eternal commitment, to that. Angela Johnson is the vice president. Angela is well known in the community. Peaches, everybody talks to Angela, knows Angela. She's trusted. Her kids are in the city schools, one of the private schools, here. She lives in Kendallwood. I mean, it's just a powerful, group of people. And I haven't named everybody. I hope some of them can come on and introduce themselves, but it's just an amazing 10-member board. Every time I say 10 members, people are like, why would you do that to yourself? And I am very open and, excited about the work we're going to do together.
Yes, indeed. So I think that's a perfect segue, Max and Reza, to go ahead and let these good folks that were able to join us chime in. If y'all wouldn't mind, we can just go around the screen here, and if y'all want to formally build on that introduction by introducing yourself and like why you are passionate about this work and being involved on this board. So on our screen, let's start with Danielle.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I had some Wi-Fi troubles earlier, but I'm Danielle Honore. I got into this work simply by being involved in the Charlottesville community. I went to undergrad at the University of Virginia, got my BA in Government and African American Studies with a minor in Public Policy. And I was trying to bring all my friends to the different city council and school board meetings and really just trying to get the UVA students involved in the community so that they're not just like serving the community, but they also feel like they can gain something from the community as well. So that's how I got to know these wonderful people on the call. And from there, I got my master's in ed policy at Harvard, worked on the Hill for a little bit, and now I am a law student at Texas A&M University School of Law.
Nice, good stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us. And of course, we'll loop back around and y'all can chime in at any moment. But next on introductions, we have a lady. Y'all know this lady? Is that the chief? And she looked familiar, no? Oh, is that Chief Brackney? Is that the chief? What's up, Chief Brackney? How you doing?
You know what? I'm good. I'm doing well. Literally running from one to another. I'm actually in a conference in New Orleans right now. So when Mayor Walker is like, here's the time. And just to tell you just how God works, literally the conference I'm just leaving, Dr. Betty Shabazz and Malcolm X's daughters are keynote. So you want to talk about just bringing fire just now. And as I'm coming up here about thinking about social justice work and advocacy, that's the kind of energy I'm bringing back right now with me. And the conference I'm at is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. So we have about 2,000 Black police chiefs, colonels, majors from across the nation and the globe here to talk about criminal justice reform, talking about the impact that our policies and practices have on Black communities. And more specifically, bringing home into Charlottesville is during the time I was there, I actually could see the historical and the legacy things that have been put in place that would also continue to allow institutions of supremacy like policing to thrive at the expense of, Black communities just trying to now survive those systems. So when we came about thinking about, from the imagination of our ancestors, my commitment came from what would this look like if for the first time, as I used to talk to Mayor Walker in our positions, if we could imagine for the first time versus reimagining something for the first time. And how might our ancestors think about that when we have the full spirit of them behind us, their wind at our backs and underneath our wings. And then when we have this group here, this group is fire. As I said,
You got a power team. Yeah, for sure.
somebody pull it together.
Yeah.
So I'm here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And next up, Jay Sean, good brother.
All right, can I still be heard? All right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. So my name is Jason. I'm probably the most, the least known out of the group, just because, like Nakai said, I am the youngest of the group. But I do believe my accomplishments speak that I am capable of providing some necessary resources to this group. So I was the youngest ever school board member. I served on the Charles City Schools school board as a student rep for two terms, and in that role, really got to learn the backstage politics of education and how everything is running and how issues are tackled. It was a really eye-opening experience, and so that really led to me wanting to challenge the education system in a way that I think others have either not gained the experience to see why they should challenge like that, or they just haven't seen it as a way to tackle it. And so I think with this board, I think allows me to use my experience on the board as well as the other things I've done in the community to address it. And I think it speaks in the name as well. When we were deciding about the name, it spoke to me, the imagination for ancestors. As you guys know, we are going through a lot in our community. We have the election. We have so much political divide going on. We have so much divide in our own community besides politics going on with crime and just this feeling of hate towards each other almost in some senses. And when I think of that imagination, it allows me to go back to, what is our purpose? What is the purpose of these nonprofits that we have in Charlottesville, or what is the purpose of these community organizations that are working for us? And that is the imagination that our ancestors had to provide a better lives for each other and for their, offsprings and their grandchildren and, their great grandchildren, might add. And so, it helps me come back to what is my purpose? Why am I fighting for what I'm fighting for? And I think that is when it is a long name, but when you do say that name out loud, and
which is not the point that I was trying to make at all.
No. That is a joke because that is something I used to say in the meetings we were discussing the name. Yeah. But even though it is a long name, when you really think about it and you process the name, it helps you focus in on what is the true purpose of what we're fighting for in our community. So.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I think a good thing to remind folks of is, as you started off, Nakaya, as well, you're talking about how when you were thinking about it, like it crossed y'all's mind that we already have so many nonprofits per capita. So make sure that people are clear on those pillars, on that mission, on what sets this apart.
Yeah. So the main thing is you can start with the people. So I'm here. I've made my commitment to the Black community clear. And people try to break that into like your own, the category of you are only focused on, or you're not broad enough. But we are the only group of people, even here, that are challenged to not focus on ourselves. And focusing on yourself doesn't mean that you don't care about anyone else. So I also have that track record when I was at City Hall, that when any other group came, you can see my votes. I was very supportive and very open because people need to take care of one another. And by them taking care of themselves, we are all then better community members when we are all healthier and thriving. And so for all the people who are going to throw that out there, I have a track record on, that votes in City Hall for 4-year period about how I vote when Senderos or, a group like that comes before us and they have needs for the Hispanic community. There was never a time that I did not advocate or did not vote when many other counselors did not, but I didn't ever ask them, or we shouldn't ask people like, why are you focusing on yourself? And in this community, Black people, and it's on our website, and I read a book last year which someone needed to give to me when I was in my teens, Faces at the Bottom of the Well. I really went into council thinking that the energy around 2017, that people were really committed to healing this community and acknowledging the racism that existed and then dismantling it by any means necessary, because that's what people were saying. And I read enough history books and wonder like, what happened and how did they fall apart? I do now know from lived experience, but I really, of all the words, naive would not be one that people usually associated with me, but I really thought we wanted to do something different. But we're here, and Black people in this community are still being railroaded, are still being used to bring money in the community, and then it's not serving us and our needs. And we very seldom get to say what we need, and we very rarely get to challenge people on how they're not serving us well, because we don't feel like we have the authority to challenge people. And so I'm telling people that now I'm here, and if you need help in these 7 areas, but as my board knows that people are going to call me and I'm going because they made me narrow this down. I just want to say that. But and it is a lot, but like I do all this stuff all the time, I can handle it. And we can definitely handle it together, but it's just a need. But the faces at the bottom of the well, while we're still there, and we're going to stay there because it serves people to keep us there. The other major challenge I have is, and Jason just pointed it out, I had us fighting me when I was there. I didn't talk about it a lot publicly, but that was also a challenge. So trying to figure out if I can even be of service here in the way. Do I need to leave here for a while to get some space and then come back here? Chief Brackney tells me all the time, and my mother does too, they're like, you're too big for this community, you really need to get out of here. But I have such a commitment because we see what's happening, and it's so necessary.
I'm gonna stop her on that one though, y'all, because here's what I tell her all the time, that this community will not allow her to be her fullest self. This community will not allow her to serve to her full capacity, that they're going to always box her in and literally see her as one of those faces at the bottom of the well. That in order to do the work, she needs to be in bigger spaces to have larger impact in her own community. So let's make sure we put that in context, because I ain't trying to run her out of here and y'all running me out of here. Is
there any concern that the community that you will serve will also try to put this group or Mayor Walker in a box as well?
Well, one of the things that I've been focused on during the past couple of years is layers of healing. And I had to move from being angry and bitter. And some days I'm still challenged when I read something. So I'm not telling you all I have fixed anything. But one of the things that I often did was focus on, I know now, was I was focusing on the wrong things. There are so many people that I helped, so many people that I served, but because I was always ready. I remember when the former COO was here, Ms. Shelton, she said, if you help, 400 people out of 1,000, you're not going to be satisfied. You need to help the whole 1,000. And I said, yeah. And she said, but you don't even take a moment to enjoy that you just got something. And that is a hard thing for me. But I would focus on the people who maybe would be in that bunch of 500, yelling and upset because whatever they need didn't happen. And, I'm a bit frustrated because I'm still working. I'm only focused on you, even though we just got this half of the group in whatever services we have. I'm learning to just focus on the people who need me, who call, and even the people who may, be loud voices in the room and want to yell, and what my work will help them and their families too. And so just focus on the work is what I hope I have learned over the past 2.5 years. And I hope I, can spend all of my energy in doing.
I have a question, if I may. When we set out to do, first off, thank every last one of y'all for what y'all are doing. I'm sure y'all hear it, but I want to make sure that I give y'all my flowers, while I can. But what do we do for the community to where we go from helping them to them being able to be self-sufficient and then reaching back to help the next person? Because what I see too often is that we condition ourselves to ask for something and then we get upset that we don't get it in the manner that we want it to happen. So what would you urge people? How would you urge people to set their mind when you come to this great organization that y'all are building and we give you help? What is your next steps so that you can keep the ball rolling?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is a question that I actually was thinking about not too long ago. This is not a savior group, and I want to make that very, very clear.
There you go.
This is not a group that we're trying to come in and say, the Black community in Charlottesville needs a savior, needs a superhero, and that's us, and we're coming in and swooping in and helping. This is an empowerment group. This is a group that's here to empower the already excellent Black community we have in Charlottesville.
I love it. Love that.
So I'm very big on Black excellence. Very big on Black excellence because there's this stereotype that Black excellence, you have to have this college degree and you have to be this successful. No, Black excellence is in all of us. It shows in different ways. The Black community is a very vibrant community, diverse community. And so when you come to us for help, or when we come to you and say, hey, do you need such and such service or whatever, we're there with the mindset that we're here to help you. We're here to advocate for you and to empower you to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve in the situation. So we're not trying to take over any situation and say, hey, you need us and we're going to take over and lead you. We want you to lead us in the way that you want to solve this problem, but we're here as a backbone for you to encourage you in what you're trying to do.
I know why you on the board now.
Yeah. Who is that young Black Panther over that corner over there?
Love it.
Love it. That's what's up.
Yeah. So family, we are joined by from the imagination of our ancestors, a new activist group led by none other than the Honorable Mayor Nekiah J. Walker. And so one thing I'm noticing as well too, which you guys just touched on, the focus currently is Charlottesville, but I am noticing how you all have a wide variety of like geographical coverage here, and you also are upward mobile in your careers and like just your outlooks and your perspectives. Like, so what's the hope, I guess you could say sort of beyond Charlottesville? Like, do you see this as being in a bubble around Charlottesville, or do you see this work once successful comes to fruition, so to speak, being an example to where you could replicate elsewhere?
Well, we had it was what you would have read would have been a much broader originally, and then we narrowed it down to Charlottesville and Albemarle just to start. But you also have to put in the work to see where your success, like, if you can really even be successful. I know oftentimes you hear people come in and I'm sure all of us can do this work, that we have the commitment, but we need to see if some of the things that we're thinking about will actually work. We have had many conversations about even the direction that, we were going to go. If you read the website, it says a think and do tank. There was board members like Dr. Harris, who's the oldest member of our board, who has, lived 80 plus years, who's like, yeah, no, I don't know about that, often. And so he said, you have a lot of great ideas. People need to hear those. And I'm like, well, who's going to implement the ideas after, we share them? And so wanted to do more action and wanted to see because I think sometimes, like with the previous question, there's an assumption that because all of these organizations exist, and there are some amazing people in these organizations. I used to work in quite a few of these organizations, and people often think I'm attacking the people, and I'm attempting to separate, which is often years of just neglect to the point where they cannot be of good service. Not that the people who are in those organizations didn't have good intentions, but there is some amazing work that's being done, and people who really care. I'm working with a family, and I've seen a team of therapists do some amazing work with this family. And then I've also seen some social workers from the Albemarle County Department of Social Services do horrible work, with this same family. So I'm not saying everybody, but there's definitely the assumption that because Charlottesville is so well resourced, that people should have enough services in place, that they should be in a better position. And I challenge people on that any day, because it doesn't mean just because it exists that it's happening.
Yeah, and it also being a small area, kind of to Chief Brackney's point, it like being too big for this area. One, like, to me, that feeds into the fact that it's small to the point to where we all know each other. You know what I mean? And so and I even think about the Chief's work, as well as Danielle, being a student and bridging that gap, as well, like between being a community member, as well as in academia, right? And sometimes people feel like that we're replicating, or sometimes people feel like that we're like stepping on their territory, and easily get offended. And again, I think that happens even more so sort of in smaller towns. So is there any intentionality behind seeing what current groups fit the puzzle, like fit this puzzle, and say, yes, we should partner with them, like, in this work?
Yes, there is. There's also, I've been off the scene for almost 3 years now. And so the reason that there aren't more clear explanations about what areas we are going to do in is because we actually need to get back out there and hear directly from people. I could make the assumption based on the few people who I've been helping over the few years, or the things that I saw beforehand, or when I used to work at Region 10 in 2007 to 2012, and I'm just, naming that organization, but that's not how any of us want, to do things. So it's actually, I may end up, and if my board says so, I may only be able to do an advocacy. There may be no room to start a thing. And that takes up, I only have a few things going on now, and that takes up a considerable amount of time. Yeah. But I also told them to just keep in mind that we will have to, if we want some of these services delivered in a way that helps heal and help family be able to move from the pit of despair into this place where we assume most people should be, no matter what they're going through, and self-sufficient and not need and able to pull other people up, which is, the goal. But first we have to talk about, why are they in those positions in the first place? Challenge people to not be in a position when the circumstances are set and aligned for them to end up in that position. And then we say, oh, I know Danielle made it out. Why couldn't you? You don't know how Danielle made it out. You don't know her story. You don't know her supports compared to the person who didn't. I say it all the time. One of my closest friends when we were growing up here, we lived in Garrett at the time, Friendship Port, raised our kids together. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And I've met some really smart people. She just did not have the chance, the supports, and being beat up and beat down every day, she could not figure it out. I'm not going to blame her or the people like her who could not figure it out. But we are here today. And even when, when we talk about from the imagination, a lot of people don't have places to turn with people who are not saying, why aren't you already here? Versus the one who will say, where are you? where do you want to be? Who's in your way? And let's get them out of your way so we can see if you even have a fair shot to get where you want to go. Because right now, every time you try to move, there's somebody throwing things in your path so that you trip over them.
So, Man Walker, is it, well, no, this question is for everybody here. Is it okay for us to tell these PWI institutions that you're not doing the work that you think you're doing?
Yes. And I think that's the problem to date. Danielle, I know you're about to jump in there. So that's the problem to date, right? That people are afraid to tell them, and even some of our own organizations, that you are not doing the work that you have committed to do, that we've given you the resources to do. And maybe your intentions were starting out well, but did you even have the capacity to do the work to begin with, right? And do we just give money out of repetition because it's so much easier to keep funding the same program over and over again? And then we create these barriers to entry for other people to get the kind of support because we say we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough capacity at that point. And I think that the key is, and I see as Danielle's leaning in here, is here's the key. We're trying to remove obstacles and barriers. When we say from the imagination, people cannot imagine possibilities if they've never had all of those yokes taken off of them. Right? You can't imagine what you can do if you don't know how to navigate your everyday systems that you find yourself in contact with. It's really hard to imagine being a chef or a creative chef if you're hungry every day. Right? I'm like, I ain't going to culinary school. I can't even think about that when I can't even think, how do I put bread on the table because of system barriers? So we're not only thinking about the imagination of our ancestors for potential, but how do we unlock it in individuals who find themselves in collaboration with us as you know, customers and people that we serve?
Yeah, I wanted to chime in there. Something that I grapple with, especially when I was at UVA, is that there's a culture of service. So like when you go to the university in particular, they have signs up, our students complete this many thousands hours of service each year. But one thing that pushed me into the community was that they don't actually engage. So they come and do a service. We go to the meetings, we'll go to the schools, and then we leave as though we can't engage and learn something from these people. And I think that same thing goes into academia, where when they approach the work, they approach from an intentionality or a standpoint of like they only have something to give and they don't have anything to receive on the back end. And what that does is create a power dynamic, and you're going in assuming something about these folks. And how can you truly, I don't even want to say serve, how can you truly help people when you're coming in with that power dynamic? I think that we're being intentional with having a growth mindset, and also understanding that people bring their own perspectives, and like we're not just trying to speak on their behalf. We really think that they are solution oriented as well, and so we're listening to them. And I think in academia, depending on who the institution is, it's hard to go in and have that, create that culture just based on positionality. Like it's hard to go in when you don't relate, you don't come from the same community, you don't have the same experiences, and you're going to try to tell them how to go from A to B or A to Z. It's very hard to do. And so I think we're intentional with, you know, having a growth mindset and making sure that we are not leading them, but partnering with folks to advance them. And also, I think another piece that you all said that made me think about, we're very intentional about saying, you know, this is about Black liberation. And I think when we partner with organizations or anything of that sort, we want to be sure that we can be fully Black and bring all of ourselves. And I think that's in academia, people hide some of their identities. I remember being an undergrad and students wouldn't say that their parents were incarcerated. And I think that's hiding some of their identity. They should be able to show up in a space and say like, hey, I'm representing so-and-so here. And, you know, yes, I'm a college student at a PWI, but also my so-and-so is incarcerated. And that doesn't make me any less human. That doesn't make my experience any less valuable. And until we are able to not have shame with all that comes with us, whether good or bad, or however that is perceived, I think we're going to have barriers. So just being intentional about allowing people to be fully Black, whatever that means.
Okay. You know, I want to give you all a little more time to kind of elaborate on, I guess, what might be called your tenets or areas of advocacy
I'm particularly interested in the local government oversight. So when you imagine what our ancestors envisioned for these type of things, what will work look like in that area in particular, but feel free to elaborate on all the others.
So, as I said before, that was a little more broad. Jason was actually the one who said, we need to bring this to like our community and put, narrow this down some. So he's been holding us to, what are you going to do? How are we going to, can't do everything, do a little. He's been helping us with that. I've been a little surprised. I thought that may come from someone a little bit, but he's been the one, older than him, but he's been the one. And it's an amazing thing. I want to say that first, to have a board that is, as I said, from an 18-year-old to an 80-year-old, everyone in between that, and to get the wisdom that comes from all of those years. Like, we have been 18 before, but we haven't been 18 in 2024, right? So a lot of times we forget that, like, what you bring to the table. And again, you were born 80 years ago. None of us on this call was here then. You have that wisdom, and then you're still here today to share, which he does. I wish he was on here. So, but I'm sure you all know Dr. Harris. And the expertise in housing that he brings, and commitment to making sure that we're not displaced is why he's on the board, if I haven't said that. But the local government piece, and that also rolls into advocating to make sure people are getting the services they need. Having just been in that position, and having been an activist before having been in that position, and been downtown at City Hall and advocating for some changes and trying to force them. I know how stagnant the thought process of individuals who are not necessarily affected by the policies that they created, or maybe somebody created 3 decades ago that they haven't looked at again, but that is still very much, affecting people. And the role that plays in, the decisions they make, the role that plays in Black people's lives in Charlottesville, whether we are still a part of the community or whether we're pushed out of the community. One of the most important things that is really hard, to pay attention to, just because it's just very time consuming, and sometimes people are intentionally being deceptive, so you're not getting the information you need, is the budget at City Hall. And so even if people don't want to get assistance from us, like, nobody knows to come and ask an organization, is the city doing the best by us when they vote on the budget every year? Who is in there advocating? What we see now is that we have different organizations who come in and advocate for, it was a little over $1 million when I was there, formerly ABRT, Vibrant Community Funding. And that's all you're paying attention to. There are hundreds of more millions of dollars that you need to be paying attention to. But what they do is, and I'm not anyone currently there has done this intentionally, but just over time, with well, I'm going to take that back, but I'm going to move on. What they do is people focus on that $1 million, let's say, then it's this whole $350 million. It's more than that, but this whole other chunk of money that nobody's paying attention to. And so what my time on council definitely taught me is that you need to pay attention to all of the dollars. Absolutely. You also need to pay attention to a lot that's happening internally, especially in areas that in these 7 areas and beyond. And so there's a city department and ultimately the council and the city manager that need to be challenged annually, and looking at their 5-year plan, things like that, to make sure that we are not an afterthought. And that's what's happening now. And because people get those, that $1 million, they forget. They don't even show up until that part of the meeting, the meeting. And so my hope is that we help them understand where all this other money is going and how going to these other places impact you.
What
But also trying to force the conversation in, this is where it should be going. Because I learned while I was there, when they would say, oh, no, we can't do anything. You probably won't be able to do anything your whole term because of our prior commitments. Oh, you're about to move some of this around. I'm not waiting until my 5th year, which doesn't exist, to add, you know. And so it's very important that we understand, like, you're going to have to, and right now I'm thinking of the group impact. We have a group that's primarily citizens from the white community who are, and I mean, I don't know if you all ever been to an impact meeting, but they are intense, okay? But they go in, they pick one focal point a year, and they just kind of hammer. And I'm telling you, like, you feel like they're knocking you in the head with it. And it's good things, but nobody says to them, oh, if your approach, if you ask me more nicely, if you give me some time to work on it, they're like, this is our goal, fix it by December 31st. And that's And we need to understand that we need to demand not just crumbs from Albemarle and the city of Charlottesville, but they need to do better. It's not just budget. One of the cases I'm working on now, as I said, is with their DSS and Human Services Department. And I've been very disappointed. Not that it matters to them, I'll just put it out there, and everybody from their board of supervisors, the county manager, the head of the services and their social services department. No one in all of those areas has done the right thing in this case. And it is a case that was overturned at the circuit court level. So their department said they were doing the right thing. Their lawyers said it was the right thing. General District Court said they was doing the right thing. The state of Virginia said they were doing the right thing. And I know because I was helping the family navigate them. And then finally in circuit court, someone looked at it and said, you all did not do the right thing. I have court transcripts to anybody who want to challenge me on that. So it exists. So in a case like that, when you're talking about advocacy, by the time I came in to helping this mom, she is done. I mean, she has no energy. She has no fight in her. She doesn't think she has any control over her life. They've stripped her kids from her. So in a point like that, you can't expect someone to bootstrap it, fix it themselves. They don't know how to navigate these systems that's set up to target and destroy them.
So and real quick before I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do, there's two other areas of advocacy that I'm particularly interested in. So time served citizens, and then housing, of course, jumps out. And Charlottesville's dealing with the homelessness population. How you guys plan on getting work done there?
So the time served space is, again, we cannot answer specifics here at this time because it's still very much an ongoing debate among us about what that do looks like. And I'm not being, I'm being real. They're like, you cannot do all this stuff. So I just want to say that. But there was Home to Hope program I created at the city while I was there. I had so many more ideas for Home to Hope than what I was able to do. We started, the pandemic hit. Just a year or so after the pandemic hit, I'm out of there, right? At the end of 2021. So just thinking around where I was going there would be an area that we would explore and how to grow that into what I had imagined it to be. And there were so many more layers, to Home to Hope.
So it still exists and still growing, correct? Or has it? No.
It does still exist. I have not been, and they are definitely a group that I would connect with to see what's happening. And when I meet with the city, ultimately that's the deputy city manager that's under her portfolio. So I will definitely be setting up a conversation about that. But ultimately, where it was left when I left, there were so many more things that you could build on with it.
Gotcha. What was the other one, Max?
Time
housing, right?
Yeah.
Time serving housing.
Housing. So housing, and I'll try to be brief. A letter that I sent out last week, and the end of July, I was at the CRAJ meeting, advocating for Black people to just understand where they are on the housing list. And this is just like public housing, right? I sent and worked with Sunshine, or talked with, made suggestions to last year with him, some of the things that were going on at Kindlewood and the development there. So I've been still very much involved. Like I told you all, I'm behind the scenes, but I've still been very much involved. But there are areas for improvement in those. Outside of that, if you are what our AMI is about $24,000 a year in the city of Charlottesville. You all see these rising home prices. We were talking about home ownership opportunities on available land, keeping projects like Kindlewood lower income, not putting market rate units on an area that's already very diverse. The only reason you would suggest to put market rate units on that land is because you don't want the people who currently occupy it there. So those are the type of things from an advocacy realm. I have a lot of ideas in the do realm. It's one of the areas that I am probably most passionate about and hope that I get approval for. So hopefully I can come back, and share that if I do get the approval for there. But we're not going to be here. That's the bottom line. At the current rate, you're going to have very few people being able to live in this area. There's a house up the street from me, $785,000 right now. That's insane. The house across the street from me sold in 2023 for $405,000. The individual that brought it came here to go to the JAG school. He paid cash. He had a 1-year contract. He left, went to Florida, and now is renting it out to people in that program. We have to just understand if we are going to be citizens of Charlottesville, or are we going to be looking at plaques being put up saying we used to be citizens?
Right. Exactly.
So as time is winding down, any parting comments from you, Mayor Walker, or any of your board members? Thank you so much for joining us today. This is exciting for me.
Yeah, and as she said, we just have a minute left. But I would like to preface, if anybody's wondering what to say, this is an election year. I'm curious if you all have talked about lobbying or like presenting a Black agenda. Right. As far as, because I imagine nonprofit, nonpartisan, but as far as just your stances when it comes to encouraging and informing people in election years, if anybody wants to touch that.
So I'm one of the few that probably can touch that and just be very careful about it. Here's what we say. You're right. We're nonpartisan, but here's what we're going to say to you. You have a lot of privileges and rights that the community, that the greater institutions of voting don't want us to exercise, right? So I don't care who you vote for. Personally, I do care, but forward facing, I don't care. But here's what I do. Every time I go out and vote, I literally take a picture of myself that says I just voted with a t-shirt that says, vote like your ancestors died for it. And that's how I feel about, we do have an election. And if we're talking about what our ancestors have given for us to, and what they have survived for us to be here, then we have no choice but to honor them in every way we can, including to go out there and fight so that our young folks, our young adults, I mean, the two amazing individuals that we have on here that make me feel aged every time I'm on here, we have no choice but to make sure that we exercise everything that our ancestors would have imagined that we could do and be.
And to understand an organization like ours is being a threat to not exist. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do that, but they're fighting the Fearless Fund right now, who does venture capital, raise funds to give Black women loans. And they had already expanded it to women of color. It wasn't just Black women, even though Black women started it. And as soon as that affirmative action case was lost last year, the next case that same individual brought was against the Fearless Fund to not be able to give loans to Black businesses to start up. So that people need to understand, if the person you're voting for is an attack on again, what your ancestors, even if they silently fed the movement from behind, however they participated, they loved you enough to want you to not be in bondage. And you have to be real clear about if your vote or what people are actually doing that you are supporting. It's important for you to understand that this is not simply just a normal you go vote or not vote or the best or the worst or whatever people are saying. You really have to understand what's been at stake since President Obama was elected, and all of the people that came out because they did not want the democracy that they felt he was a threat. So again, you vote because we're nonpartisan, vote for, but you need to understand the position that people are presenting to you.
Thank you. Yeah, and we are up against the end of the show, but any final word? We can give 30 seconds each. Anybody have any other final words, or we good? Because y'all represent it well, right?
Sure.
Appreciate y'all.
I really appreciate you all for allowing us to come to the community. This is very much a startup. There's nothing started, but there was a perfect commitment to make sure that we honored the community in thinking about what we could offer.
Right.
Thank you. And is the website ready to be shared?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The website is spelled out very long from the it's 32 characters. Ask me how many times I went over that. Right. www.fromtheimaginationofourancestors.org.
Okay.
The imagination of our ancestors. All right. Well, thank y'all.
Yeah. Thank you for your
very
work.
much. And until next time, please keep us posted.
Thank you.
Be well till our paths cross again.
Right. Take care.
You are listening to 101.3 Jams, Charlottesville's #1 for R&B, hip hop, and throwbacks.